and night, in steady rhythm, there operates within the human body a marvelous machine, the heart. From the sprightly action of babyhood down through the years to the sedate pace of old age, the heart beats about 2.5 billion times. The ventricles, on contracting shortly after each beat of the auricles, act as true pumps, while purified blood is forced out by the left ventricle through the aorta and other arteries to all parts of the body.
In the 50s and 60s, it was almost unthinkable that anyone would survive with a single ventricle circulation.
Now contraction of the ventricle starts, and the mitral and tricuspid valves are forced shut.
The conditions are really so challenging from a physiological point of view.
We have learned how the varying needs of the body, at rest or in work, are adequately and automatically met by adjustments of the heart and blood vessels. Most of this information has been gained from experimentation, which has been carried on by men of medical science in their unending fight against the causes of disease and death.
When Francis Fontan applied the first Fontan operation, the transformation was absolutely dramatic. Like very few things in medicine we've seen before. The Fontan operation, as it was initially constructed, really was to provide a way for which the heart can function better when it only has one ventricle. Children that were born with complex hearts were for the very first time able to survive beyond early childhood into adult life, and it gives them a second hope, a second chance of surviving, in reality, a lethal form of congenital heart disease. Now, unfortunately, that's not the whole story, though.
Sometimes we don't really have many options open to us. Surgery, VAD options, a choice between doing nothing and palliative care. Is that anything you would consider a feasible option for the adult with a failing Fontan? Is it a realistic option to pursue?
What we see with the Fontan circulation is this real complex heart disease that has a profound effect on people's lifespan and life duration. How can we improve the Fontan circulation? We're at a stage where it's developed to a point where it's really as good as this circulation is going to get. But I can tell you as a clinician, that feels wholly insufficient. How can I do better in order to stop them or prevent them in a way that patients do not develop those morbidities and those poor outcomes? I wish I can offer them more.
My name is Martha Pauley, and I have a son that was born in 1985, and he was born with a very complex congenital heart defect, a single ventricle. He also had transposition of the great vessels and a couple of other anomalies in his heart. And from that moment on, my life was forever changed. By day 3, Andrew needed an open heart surgery, and I had just seen him after he recovered. Gone home, got a phone call, the hospital says, come back, he needs another surgery. And the second surgery, the surgeon said, it's 50-50 here. We're 50-50 on if he gets out of the OR this time. He just went right on. He had delays, he had to have physical therapy, occupational therapy, but when someone's 20, we don't care they didn't learn to walk till they were 17 months. So then we fast forward to about age 3, and Andrew at that point needed something called a Fontan procedure. But get him home from his 4-year-old surgery, and then he had a pretty stable period of time. we were waiting. He's on the list. The surgeon sat down with Andrew, and I was right next to him, and the surgeon looked at my 20-year-old, and he said, "I'm game if you are." And my son said, "Sure." His spirit and his nature and his exuberance never left. I mean, he was always just so outgoing and so upbeat. It was just amazing to watch. All his years, his cardiologist always said to me, you know, these guys often have arrhythmias, irregular heartbeats, and that can cause a sudden death event. She told me that from the day he was born. So when Andrew was 30, it was September of 2015, and he was driving home from work, and his heart stopped, and his car rolled off the road. He rolled into another car very slowly. They could see there was a medical event or something happening. They call 911. 911 comes, breaks the car window, drags him out, resuscitates him, gets his heart going again. And that started 2 weeks in Children's Hospital of tests, monitoring, cath, heart rate studies, all this stuff. They said, here's what you need. You need a defibrillator. So the next time this happens, it will shock your heart and it'll put it back in regular rhythm. There was something with Andrew's anatomy that he could not have the defibrillator up here, so he got what always looked to me like a gigantic defibrillator right here. So we went home from that. We got through Christmas and the New Year's, and Andrew got one of his friends to drive him back to his apartment. So he went home that night. I had seen him that day at my office. It was Thursday, but now it was like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. He had his roommate and a best friend in his apartment with him. His heart stopped again. They were doing CPR, called 911, and take him again down to the hospital. And he never recovered from that. I mean, he never spoke again. His brain was damaged. And so January 10th of 2015, Andrew was taken off of all life support. I mean, I felt like I was waiting for the phone call for 30 years, and then I got the phone call. But I got 30 years.
I'm Andrew Poxtitis. I'm 29 years old. I've had 7 open heart surgeries to correct my single ventricle and transposition of the greater vessels. Since then, you know, I thrive. I own my own business. I love working with people. Currently seeking a job in the hospital, in the medical field, and I just want to help others and bring more awareness to the cause of Adult Congenital Heart Association. But my mother is amazing. She's a board member for ACHA, she's an ambassador, and I just feel like if it wasn't for her though, I probably wouldn't be alive. It's just that she's literally a saint in my book. I want to live a long life and have kids and, you know, retire and travel.
My son lived the biggest, loudest, fastest 30 years of anybody I have ever known. He crammed more into 30 years than most people live in, 70 years.
I really thought that I had been fixed from my childhood reparative surgery. When I was 24, I was sitting in my office. I had just graduated college a few months earlier, and my heart just started to race. It felt like it was beating out of my chest. I remember thinking to myself, I could die here in my office. And I was alone and it was at night. And I was rushed to the emergency room and they basically told me that I was gonna have to have another open heart surgery. There's a lot of unknowns and a lot of potential complications that are in my future. I took most of May and June and July to recover. But at the end of it, I really felt like I had really come through one of the biggest challenges of my life. And by that November, I went to a wedding of a good friend of mine. I was a groomsman. And I met my wife, Courtney. Courtney is pretty direct and straightforward. And so on our second date, she said, you know, what are we doing here? You know, I don't just date for fun. I was ready to be serious and exclusive, but I knew that I had something I had to tell her. I met somebody who just understood from the moment that we met, this was gonna be a part of our life and was okay with it.
I remember being surprised. I remember saying to him, something could happen to me tomorrow. Certainly, I think as time has gone on, I've, you know, come to terms with the more real day-to-day potential consequences of his condition. It's never scared me away because if you knew Scott and those who know Scott, he lives his life in such a way that whatever years we have, I know will be so full of life.
There was this moment, probably within the first 6 months of our relationship, where you said to me, there may be a day where it is just me and, you know, whatever future kids we may have, and I want you to know that it's worth it. It's worth it to me. And I think that that was the moment where, like, I think we were both crying at that moment. And I mean, if I could have fallen any more in love with you, I absolutely did in that moment.
We have been so fortunate. We've been married 4 years now. We have 2 children. And I think having children makes your condition scarier, you know, because it's not just us anymore. But we'll keep moving until, you know, we hit another roadblock, and at that time, then that's when we'll face that challenge at the time. But we don't ever try to live, you know, too far into the future, because if we did, that would ruin the now. I mean, that would ruin these really beautiful moments that we have now with our family and our kids.
My name is Terry Kara-Georges, and this is my wife, Carolyn. We've been married now for about 19 years, and in 2008, we had our first child, Callie. At birth, everything was fine and happy, and I counted fingers and toes. Overnight, she started turning blue, and you know, the next day they came in and did the echo, and we learned that she had heart defects. The single ventricle solution is what we landed on, which meant she would have a series of operations.
Now we're going to go through your animals. Say hi. Say hi. Okay. Callie, what does a kitty cat say? Meow. Meow. Good. What does a doggy say? Woof, woof. Good, good, good. What does a duck say? Quack. Quack. And where does he live? Quack. That's right. You're so smart. What does a horse say? Neigh. Neigh. That's right. What does a sheep say? Bah. Bah. That's right again.
Oh,
Yay.
stop recording. Go ahead.
Yay. Now I have another one. What does a snake say? That's right, that's what a snake says.
Callie was about 3.5 years old when she had the Fontan procedure. At that point in time, you know, we would always ask, you know, is that it? That's where there was just all the uncertainty. And you know, as she grew, you learn about Fontan failures and things like that.
We've really been lucky that throughout her, you know, life to this point, she's not had any indications of any sort of medical condition. She plays soccer, she dances, she does cheer. There's really no outward signs of her limitations. But we didn't want her to self-limit unless, you know, she really felt like she needed to. So we tried to really allow her to do anything she wanted to do and be a normal kid, because she could be after having the Fontan. I know one of the stories that a friend told me, she was probably 6, maybe 7, and they were changing, and you know, she has the scar from 2 open heart surgeries on her chest. And my friend was just overhearing the girls talk, and her friend was like, what is that? She was like, well, you know, this is part of my story. Do you want to hear my story? And she went ahead and explained, you know, that she had had a heart boo-boo when she was born, and she'd had to have 2 procedures. As she's getting into kind of that tween age, I worry that she's going to be self-conscious of, the scar that she has. And we had talked to her about different types of lasers and things to help, make the scar look less pronounced. And she told us that this is part of who I am. I'm fine with it.
We knew that 40 years ago she would have been out of luck at birth. So we were very grateful to have that option.
I remember asking if she would be a candidate for a heart transplant someday. It's so exciting to hear that there might be another option out there that wouldn't be nearly as scary as a heart transplant.
It's an honor to be here. I'm really pleased to be able to speak to you all at least about these concepts. It's an exciting concept that I think brings hope. I'm Mark Rodefeld, and I'm a congenital heart surgeon, really specifically interested in kids with single ventricle heart disease, which is, one of the biggest challenges that we deal with. While Fontan repair is life-saving, at the same time, it's life-limiting. And by definition, a Fontan circulation is the same as a normal circulation, except it's missing one key piece, and that's the right-sided pump. The idea behind this research is, well, if you can replace what's missing, you can solve this problem. It's going to require a device to do that. I went through several different variations of pumps. I tried to adapt existing pumps. And then there was sort of this epiphany, which was a single pump in the center of the four-way intersection. At that point, I didn't know how to get a motor into that kind of a pump. I had been asked many times by many people, well, if there's a way you can figure out how to power this internally and it could be there permanently, well, these people could be cured. I used funds remaining from my NIH grant to collaborate with NASA. So this NASA prototype got completed, and it worked, but it didn't perform through the full performance range. But in that process, we learned the reasons why, and could take that knowledge from failure essentially to springboard into another attempt at a prototype. At that point, my NIH grant had expired, and I had a choice of get another NIH grant with weak data on a pump that didn't fully function, or to try to go out and raise my own funds. That was the path I took.
So I met Mark Rodefeld when I was living in Indianapolis. He and I connected because if there was an opportunity for me to be able to make a difference in pushing his research along, that I wanted to do it. He came back to me and asked if I could raise $300,000 to help him complete a prototype.
There is only one barrier holding back this prototype from being made: funding.
In order to get the current prototype built, I need additional funding to complete that process.
So since we launched the campaign in GoFundMe, we've raised 65 online, we've raised another over 250 offline, for a grand total of $315,000, just in a matter of 13 months.
We've managed to raise enough funds to get through this current prototype, and it fully functions.
And there's still a long road ahead. Commercialization is a long process. I hope that it comes to fruition, and I hope that it impacts the thousands of kids' lives out there that it could potentially prolong. I remain hopeful that those advances are coming for folks like me, and that I can live a longer life and be healthy through it, so that I can watch my kids grow up.
And so certainly after my son got through the first critical surgeries, when I didn't think he'd have a first birthday, I think I got a little greedy and wanted him to have a natural lifespan. I would certainly love to have seen him get married and have children. That would have been my dream. And so that's not something I'll ever have. And I would like for parents to be able to have that. And for the kids coming up now, hopefully, to have those normal lifespans.
From my standpoint, what we're currently doing with single ventricle patients is we're basically giving them a chronic disease. At the same time, I wake up every morning knowing that we potentially can cure them. Yes, it's complicated, and yes, it'll be expensive, but these are otherwise healthy, normal people, and they deserve correction. And so I'm committed to do it.
The Fontan procedure gave them stability. It wasn't the final piece. This can be the final piece that can give them a whole lifetime. That changes everything.